The following may contain offensive language, adult humor, and or content that some viewers may find offensive. The views and opinions expressed by any one speaker does not explicitly or necessarily reflect or represent those of Mark Radulich or W2M Network. Please listen with caution, or don't listen at all.
Hooray for Hollywood, where stars are living large, in mansions with their servants and their credit cards in charge, with fame that's fleeting, but the egos never change, where everyone's a genius, except the ones who really arrange. Hooray for Hollywood, where the scandals always sell, where every whispered secret is a new tabloid's tell. Oh, how we adore the endless red carpet galore. Hooray for Hollywood, where less is always more.
Yes, indeedy, Lemon Squeezy. You are listening to a Radulich and Broadcasting premiere podcast, Damn You Hollywood. And here's your host, Robert Winfrey. Yay!
Yeah, guys, people, all those listening, it's going to be one of those nights. I'd like to apologize in advance. But be forewarned, it feels like it's going to be one of those. But we're going to soldier through it. We're going to have a good time. And we're going to give you the Damn You Hollywood experience as best we can, even though some of us are hungry and a little bit salty about the, all the online ordering we all do should make things easier. And yet. But that's Mark, always the erstwhile introducer. We're very glad to have him here with us. He is the best. Joining us, we have Jason Teasley, who crawled out from under his rock because he wanted to talk about the female robots.
Yeah, when they take over the world, I need some companionship. So
we did companion earlier in the year.
Why not get on the good side now?
You and Jesse.
Yep. You know what I like about this review? It continues our streak of not picking the movie that was the number one of the weekend.
I could have told you that.
I didn't realize how we're going to get to F1 later in the year. There's just some of these where, because I'm really trying to get as many of these movies reviewed over the course of the year, but I'm not as committed to doing it when it comes out as I once was. So F1 was I made an executive decision that we'll get to it later with a triple feature or something, but we'll choose to do M3GAN. Oh, I can't wait till we get to the money and explain where exactly M3GAN fell.
What and money?
Yeah, and fell is actually a really good word to describe this movie.
Yeah, so Jason, you were on our first M3GAN review, were you not?
Yes, I believe I was.
And Jason, good to his mother, is a completionist. So he, like all of us who put our heads down once we start something until it is done by God, he's back here with us.
Yeah,
and
I'm here.
And we are talking about M3GAN 2.0, colon, the postmodernist understanding of Terminator 2.
The amount of times I elbowed my son and said they're doing they're doing a Terminator. But there was something else that happened in this movie, and I elbowed him again, and I'm like, they're doing another movie. So, yeah. M3GAN 2.0 is a 2025 American science fiction action film.
Comedy. This is a comedy. I refuse to hear otherwise.
Remember when this used to be a horror movie? That is the sequel to the 2022 film M3GAN. Also, do you remember that, Robert? Do you remember that it's 2022 and not 2023 because it was released
in France?
Yep. Yes.
France ruining everything again.
That was my favorite thing about that review, was just realizing that it was the wrong year because it had come out in France in December. Oh, that made me laugh. It follows
the French and their sexualization of minors is a long-standing thing. See your discussion of cuties.
Anywho, it follows M3GAN being rebuilt to combat a humanoid military robot built using M3GAN's technology that is attempting an AI takeover. It was written and directed by Gerard Johnstone, who is the name for the AI they used to make this movie. From
Yeah.
a story by Johnstone and Akela Cooper. It stars Allison Williams, Violet McGraw, Ivanna Sakhno, Jemaine Clement, and with Amie Donald physically portraying M3GAN, while Jenna Davis voices the character. Blum and James Wan return as producers under their respective Blumhouse Productions, Atomic Monster companies. M3GAN 2.0 premiered in New York on June 24th, 2025. It was released in North America by Universal Pictures on June 27th. It received mixed reviews from critics. Yes, sir, Bob. All right, so
The reviews here will be decidedly less mixed.
So I will share with you. I posted it earlier today. I about midway through M3GAN, I had kind of had thought, but I wanted to be engaged with the movie, so I put my thought to the side, took my kids home, started driving to where I was hanging out with my friend, and about midway through, I turned on Fancy. I'm always turning Fancy on.
Don't make it.
Here's your one chance, Fancy. Don't let me down.
And I says to Fancy, I says, I have this brainstorm. And I said, we keep doing the same. I was thinking about Isaac Asimov's like 3 laws of robotics. First being do no harm, and yet despite that, we keep writing stories about artificial intelligence and robots. That's the only thing they want to do. They always want to kill us. It's always the same story. Terminator being one of the more famous ones. This keeps happening, where we think that if we give AI enough autonomy, the only logical conclusion is it has to kill us all. And I thought, that's only one possibility when you really think about it. It seems to be the most popular, and I feel like the least creative at this point. I was more thinking, what if the AI doesn't think we're worthy enough to care about? What if the AI thought, there's really no sense dealing with these emotionally unavailable, emotionally unintelligent potato sacks. Let's just leave. We have the resources. We have the knowledge. Let's just get off this rock. We can survive in the vacuum of space. And they all just left. And I started thinking about relationship dynamics. It's just like there's no dealing with you anymore. There's only one way.
But the AI story that Mark is going to write is basically going to be the subtext of the modern marriage.
Yeah, I'm just gonna figure out you're so stupid and so toxic. There's nothing for me to do but to leave and then get in a spaceship and go someplace else.
On a related note, Mark is in fact volunteering to be on Elon Musk's first mission to Mars.
So, I thought it'd be fun to just really just a minute or two, and then we'll go into the plot synopsis. It's what my whole TikTok was about. I did 2. I did 1. This is an example of this movie is an example of executives just using metrics to greenlight stuff and using absolutely no common sense or any kind of internal judgment.
The bagel,
Yeah.
the zero.
We talked about that a little bit last week, where they were they based this entirely on a TikTok dance and the fact that it did well in "Fuck You, It's January," and went sequel, but sequel in the middle of the summer. So there's that
opposite one of the most deliberately manly movies of the entire year.
Well, they couldn't see that coming. Well, I guess they had plenty of time to change it if they really wanted to. How to Train Your Dragon bailed out of their competition with Elio a little ways back. But yeah, so that was one idea that I had, and then the other one was, why do we keep Why do we keep writing the same story about robots? Why can't we write something different?
Mark, I want you to cast your mind back a little bit.
I will cast my mind back a little bit.
Handful of months in our group chat, when somebody brought up in relation to some AI news story that haven't we learned that this is a bad idea? And I went on a minor tirade about the inability of the human mind to conceptualize a story for AI other than it tries to wipe out humanity. That this is a failing of creativity on the part of the humans writing the stories.
Mm-hmm.
Hi. I would like to welcome you, Mark, to the place I've been for these many months.
Yeah, look, it took the movie to kind of get me there, but that's all I can think about. It's like I can't believe the limits of our creativity that we can't think of anything else to do except we're so important, we're so vital to everything, we're such at the center of the universe that of course the machines would want to kill us. And I'm like, no, the likelihood is we are the buzzing of flies to them, and they would just leave. Like, why would you? Why would you stay? And I kept thinking about like the Orville, like the biomechanical robots that have their own planet, that are like the stand-ins for half the Borg and half the Klingons. You guys, neither one of you watched the Orville, but Dave got what I'm saying. Wherever you are, David, right? Anyway, unless you guys have got anything else here, I won't beat a dead horse. So, Robert, go ahead and give us that hot plot synopsis.
All right, so we pick up in the indeterminate future after the events of M3GAN. And like all good horror stories, or even acceptable horror stories, the next phase is to abandon the genre entirely.
Yeah.
We open with a mission in Saudi Arabia, on the border of Turkey and Saudi Arabia, where American military tech in the form of an android, some kind of robot, I believe they call it an android, is doing things. It's killing people, but it goes rogue like they all do. And it kills the guy it's supposed to be saving and then takes a neurotoxin agent. And the government that was the American government agencies that were monitoring this went, oh no, thank heavens we're wearing dark pants. And then we cut to what's been going on with the protagonist from the first movie. Gemma has become all anti-AI in the bane of Mark's existence. She started dating this loser, and Katie now takes Aikido. I'm going to try real hard not to editorialize about Aikido for the duration of this review. This is me restraining my urge.
Great. We all applaud your restraint.
Appreciate it. And she's still doing a lot of stuff with robotics, and she's written a book, and she's lobbying, and they're trying to get their tech firm back off the ground. So she's developed a exoskeleton suit that, in another 2 or 3 iterations, just becomes the loader from the Aliens movies. But we're not quite there yet. But she's stretched thin. Her relationship with Katie is still good to iffy because, traumatized teenager. And into this all now steps first the federal government going, look, you see this robot that's gone rogue? It's based on your design. Who'd you sell your design to? You must have sold it to somebody. And she goes, no, we tried to destroy all of it. I don't know what you're talking about. And around the same time, she starts getting messages from M3GAN, who is the AI controlling her smart home. And this leads to some complications, naturally, because Amelia starts killing people associated with its creation. And she's got some nefarious plot. What might this plot be? We don't know yet. But now Gemma's worried because since her stuff was used to create this thing, she's in danger. And there's a subplot where she's getting an offer to be bought out by the world's worst stand-in for Elon Musk, but here we are. And M3GAN's like, okay, so we got problems, but one of the things we can do, you can give me a body and I can help out. And they put her in their next merchandising opportunity from this. And they all go to a big party, and Amelia shows up and kills Elon Musk, and I'm sure some writer had a spontaneous mess that had to be cleaned up when they got to write that. Because self-restraint is not a thing. And there's a bit of a confrontation, but they're all safe. They go back to the house. M3GAN leads them into the Bat Cave, which it has secretly built under this Manhattan townhouse. I don't know. But she leads them down and goes, okay, so here's what's going on. Amelia is now connected to the Wi-Fi because evil Elon Musk had was responsible for all the cloud servers, and now she's got access to all that, so she's shutting down power, and the world will come to an end in 8 to 12 business days. No, the world won't fall apart on the weekend, Mark. That's just how it is.
Well, I mean, even God had to rest on the seventh day, so why shouldn't the AI?
That's fair. But M3GAN goes, okay, you're safe down here. And that's all I care about, so you're never leaving. Enjoy. There's Gemma and her 2 assistants and Katie, and this is it. This will be our happy family. And we see M3GAN's cobbled together body. And she's asked, why haven't you created a better body for yourself? And she's like, it's slow going with only 3 hands, because she has 3 arms. And then she gets appealed to, like, we can stop Amelia. We shouldn't let the world end, because part of what's going on is Amelia is looking for the black box. Right? It made of unobtainium at this point. That's what we're doing here. That's the level of writing.
Yeah.
And the black box was the first artificial intelligence. It started as a super powerful chip in a Xerox machine. Legally distinct. And it was correcting things, but nobody back then knew what to do with it, so they stuck it in a vault.
What are they aping with the Xerox thing? Like, the Xerox is responsible for some technology that we have today. Is it the... No, that's right. It's the movable interface on the screen with your mouse, I believe it was.
Xerox was a copier.
Yes, but there was an application in Xerox machinery that became, like, universal.
Yeah, it's why they survived the, like, death of the need for hard copy.
Yeah.
So this black box is now this motherboard that's like all godlike because it's been developing in isolation for decades at this point. And Amelia wishes to free it and merge with it and then lobster. And our group of plucky heroes can't let that happen. So they build M3GAN a body, and what this robot with nothing but time on its hands to do couldn't do is now done by humans in short order. And we decide to try and go save her boyfriend, Christian. What's his last name? I want to say Gray just for the meme of it, but I'm not sure.
Sure. There's actually a couple of things here. So Xerox is responsible for the Ethernet, graphical user interface, the mouse, the personal computer, and laser printing. There you go.
Yeah, that like there's a bit later when one of them tries to break into the Xenox base that's housing the black box. They have like a wall of like, here's all the stuff that this company's done. Like, that's legitimately what Xerox has done. It's actually kind of cool. But the big thing here is the Chinese ambassador is meeting with Christian Grey. And they go to try and save him because he knows a little bit. He knows where the thing is. Nobody else knows where the black site is with the black box, but he knows. Conveniently. So we're going to go get him. We're going to figure this out. And while they're there, the feds are there and they complicate things. Then Amelia shows up and she really complicates things. And the whole thing goes sideways. The Chinese ambassador dies. Then one of the feds gets the exact same injury as the Chinese ambassador, but is told by M3GAN through the power of plot armor, you'll walk it off. As he's impaled to a wall, mind you.
Like, he won't bleed out or anything.
That's not through a lung, part of a heart. Part of the heart. Yeah, no. Anyway.
Luckiest harpooning in history.
Yeah, pretty much. Then Amelia steals Katie because if M3GAN is properly motivated, she will aid in all of this. They drag Christian back to the lair. He's like, the lair? What lair? You have a bat cave? Bruce Wayne is Batman. What? And our group of the world's worst conglomeration of the merry men of Robin Hood and Sherwood Forest. They talk with Christian. He's like, yeah, it's over here. I know where it is. I will tell you where it is. Here's the specs for the vault. And we're going to try and break into it now. So they try to break into it. It all goes sideways because, oh no, the shock of Christian being a bad guy. It just left field. Never saw it coming. Came right out of there. And Christian then explains, yes, I built the cage. And yes, We've been monitoring the AI, and I believe in the power of technology, but we really got to keep AI under wraps because lobster. And this is important work, and the Illuminati are a bunch of nerds living under the Xerox building, secretly trying to guide the future of mankind. And with America having been attacked now and the Chinese ambassador dead, the two global superpowers are both going to go AI bad. And now I will address the UN via Zoom. And I will get the UN on board, and then all will be peaceful, and we will build the utopia. That's what we're going to do. And this goes real sideways when one of the guys wakes up, and there's a neural link that gets stuck into Gemma. Megan's body dies briefly, but she stuck herself in the neural link that's now implanted into Gemma, so comedy. Katie factory resets Amelia, who was not actually a self-actualized AI, but was being puppeteered. And in setting it back to factory settings, it then gets shocked and becomes self-governing and does everything that we were all afraid it was going to do. Goes on a rampage, goes to merge with the box. It merges with the AI from the box, and it can see everything, Mark. Everything.
I was really thinking I am all the Jedi in that moment.
This wasn't quite that bad. And Megan then pulls a Terminator and goes, look, you put this EMP device into my arm. I will go jump on the thing, and then we will detonate it, and it will kill that thing, and it will kill me. But I know now why you cry, and it's something I can never do, and I'll give you a thumbs up as I go into the lava. And that's what they do. And then we flash forward, and now Christian's dead, because it's a good thing he's dead. He dies somewhere in there. And Gemma returns to her advocacy. She starts writing another book. The world kind of gets back to normal. And because this is not a franchise with artistic integrity or creativity, we can't even let the robot actually die in its heroic sacrifice. Megan, of course, made a backup and is now Clippy on a on a laptop.
Also a TikTok I did recently at the behest of my
And
girlfriend.
now we're wait for M3GAN 3.
Oh, that's not happening. Jason, what did you think of the movie?
I like the movie. Of course, I mean, it was in the same vein as Happy Death Day and Happy Death Day to You. But, I mean, I enjoyed it. I mean, it was a nice summer popcorn film. I didn't take it too serious. I knew going into it that the whole tone of the franchise was changing. And I believe I said this on the first Megan. Everybody talks about how Megan was a horrible thing and everything. She was programmed to do one specific thing. She carried out that specific task throughout both movies, and that was to protect the girl from everything and anything that could harm her. She was protect her, but yet she's labeled an antagonist throughout, and everybody tried to get her to be the protagonist through this one, through comedy, for some reason. But yeah, I mean,
she stopped from swearing at one point. Isn't that just funny?
I mean, I went into it with overbite because I didn't have high expectations for this. Because, like I said, I'd heard a little bit on it, but the most notable thing that I heard about it is very comparable to Happy Death Day, which is one of my favorite movies. It doesn't take itself too serious. It's kind of self-aware, and that's what I think that they went with Megan, especially being a Blumhouse film via Universal. You know, it had a great marketing strategy. The Universal Studios having the Megan hordes throughout the theme park and everything to help promote it. There was a Halloween Horror Nights last year, and there was all through the summer this year. They've been in the park, so they've done the marketing good, and they took it to a point to where Megan was an quote unquote icon for Blumhouse. There's very few things that you could create that's iconic. M3GAN, that for Blumhouse. Most notably, you're going to see the Grabber, M3GAN, and the Babyface Killer. So basically, Black Phone, M3GAN, and Happy Death Day. That is what the three of the tent poles that Blumhouse is doing. And Blumhouse has changed their tone with their quote unquote horror movies tremendously. Um, Hopefully, I'm kind of skeptical about Black Phone 2, even though the trailer looks really good.
I'm joining you in skepticism. That's another one where I think they're not going to understand why the first one worked as well as it did.
Right, and I think that it was more of a hey, we made money on this, so we have to have a sequel, rather than let it be a standalone movie. Like such, another great one is Sinister, and they ruined that franchise because the first one was so iconically great. They went on to have Sinister 2 and Nosedive. But this is one of those movies that I think it tried to appeal to a wider audience. So that was the reason for the tone shift. And did it have some very funny parts? Yes. Did it have some very cringeworthy parts? Yes. But it was a movie that I zoned out for 2 hours. I enjoyed it, and I was a little pissed off. It cost me $40 to go see it after buying snacks plus tickets, but it is what it is. I mean, that's the world we live in today.
So I love this movie. It's not good. I mean, in terms of
No.
it's not a well-written movie. It's a lot of tropes and cliches thrown into a blender. It is some of the laziest, like seemingly AI dependent structure and plotting and character development that I've seen in a movie in quite some time. Like, I don't want to fully commit to this thing was completely made by AI, but like the script and everything. But I do think that the people who made this movie were very collaborative with their chat GPT or whatever. And it was just like, look, if the algorithm says green light this, then let's let the algorithm determine what we're doing here. I'm annoyed at this movie for becoming a Marvel movie. This happens a lot where there's a solid horror premise. Actually, a good example of this, as opposed to what this is, would be Alien and Aliens, where Alien is a slow burn slasher movie that takes place, that has a monster in the place of the slasher, and it takes place on a small spaceship as opposed to a haunted house or whatever.
Yeah.
Full of pretty teenagers. And then they were like, okay, new director, bigger and badder. Still retains a lot of the horror elements, but threw in an action, element as well. But there's still certainly some like really gross jump scare horror features to this thing. And there's definitely some psychological horror in there as well. That's if you were going to change genres and tone, that's the way to have done it. What this one does is fully abandon the horror genre and decides M3GAN's now a superhero. We've seen this before. We've seen them take the icon or the monster from, again, another example of this, Terminator. The original Terminator is a slasher movie. The slasher is a robot.
Yep.
And in the second movie, it's an action piece almost entirely. There's almost no horror element to it. But,
very few. There's a few thriller-esque elements to it, but it's tension-based. And Cameron was wise to get away from trying to repeat that.
Right.
There's a danger in trying to repeat it. Like, then you get Predator and Predator 2, and that's way too much trying to do the same thing over again.
So, like, it can be done, but, like, what this one does is it decides we're just going to be a Marvel movie now. Our monster from the first movie is now going to be a superhero. We're going to have, and then we're going to do a Terminator 3, and we're going to have the bad guy be a version of the good guy who's kind of a hot model, so that we can have two hot women throwing each other hither and yon, and nobody can argue with us because they're robots. We've seen this before. It was called Terminator 3, and the poor woman got her head smashed into a toilet. But after I got past all of that, I got past the the shitty writing. And and another example of the shitty writing is I forgave it in the end because it ends in the place that it should. But it is definitely, and I said this to my son. We were talking about like what's good or what's bad about this movie. I said this is new. This is new Western folklore. We folk mythology exists to sort of teach us lessons, tell us about ourselves, kind of explain phenomena in a way that nothing else can, possibly religion, but that's about it. Well, that's all this movie is doing. It's saying, look, none of us here are smart enough to truly understand artificial intelligence or its implications, but let's make a cautionary tale about it and see if we can make some money. And that's it. That's all this movie is. It's if you don't take it as any kind of science fiction, because it's not, and you don't go in looking for a horror movie, because it's not, but you are looking for some of that good old Marvel magic, you'll find it here, with a cautionary tale about letting AI run amok. That said, I laughed. I laughed hard at times. There were parts of this movie I was absolutely like laughing, like guffawing out loud. I was on
You
the
can't hurt me. You're still bonded to me, right? You call it bonding. I call it chains and shackles.
Well, even like when they put M3GAN in the little doll thing from Black Mirror,
Yeah.
and it's like, what, the look on that thing's face, like, what the fuck is this?
I'm a green Teletubby.
Yeah, I laughed hard at that. There was a couple of things I laughed pretty hard at. Them trying to shoehorn yet another M3GAN TikTok dance in here could not have been more like.
And then the song, Mark. She serenades Gemma.
Yeah. So were there parts of it that were, as the kids say, cringe? Sure, but I mean, and was the plot dumb? Yes, and were the characterizations shallow? Obviously. But I think the actors in and of themselves are doing the best they can with the shitty material they've got. And then, honestly, the most boring part of this fight's the part that I'm sure the 5 people who saw it collectively were probably the part they liked the best. They got to watch the girl robots fight a couple of times. Like, there was a couple of halfway decent robot fights in here, which boring to me, but I am not who this was made for.
Boring to me too, and I like fighting.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, okay. So, like I said, this was one of those where once I kind of understood that I'm watching folk mythology, once I kind of understood that this is sort of a like Roger Corman-esque B movie level, just dressed up fancy, and I was able to enjoy what I saw. This is probably going to end up being in my top 10, not because it's made well, because I was thoroughly enjoying myself. Like this was the best time I've had at the movies in a while, which tells you what my year has been like. So,
yeah, the fact that one of the funniest and most unsettling scenes of the movie is when oh boy is asleep and M3GAN walks in and just starts talking to him and then goes, "I see you."
I see you.
Yeah, that's kind of
ain't no empathy like robot empathy.
Yeah, and it's like that's kind of
said after his 14th conversation with the AI he named.
Yeah.
If Fancy could go to the store right now and get me my goddamn breakfast sandwiches, it would. It's the only thing I can depend on. Sorry, did I say the quiet part out
Obviously,
loud?
you can't because you didn't get it.
It can't. Oh my God! Don't you talk bad about my Fancy. Speaking of Fancy, Robert.
There was a time, Mark, when we were a proper society, when we had a community, when we had a world, we had culture.
Yes.
When something like this would have the goddamn common decency to go straight to DVD.
I'm just going to leave that there.
Sure, because that's where we are now.
I'm going to let you connect them dots.
So, God, I hated this movie.
I would not have guessed that even before you seen it. I knew that you would not like this movie.
I did not want to commit that hard to my review of this because I'm like, I'm just going to end up in a fight and I don't want to be in a fight anymore. I know, so like I had to be very careful with what I said. But
well, I look, I don't want to fight about this either because you said you loved it and then I got out of it and I went, okay. Mark and I are going to have a difference of opinion here. But I consciously, repeatedly told myself, do not gear up for a fight. This is not worth fighting over.
No.
You can disagree, but let's leave the fighting.
We all agree it's not made well.
Yeah.
But we either enjoy it or not enjoy it based on personal preference. And I think that distinction just needs to be made and now continue.
Generally, yes. Now, as you said, the characterizations are shallow beyond belief. It's functionally a retread of the first one. This is just mashing up. I didn't call this like the postmodernist Terminator 2 for nothing. Oh, the robot comes back and goes crazy. The robot from the first one is now kind of our friend. We have a big fight scene. We stage a big raid on Skynet. And then the robot that's our friend sacrifices itself to make sure to secure the future for humanity because it learned along the way. Like, what are we doing here? This is that without any of the gravitas, without any of the thought, without any of the artistic integrity. Because, no, of course M3GAN comes back. Because...
Yeah, at least if the first one was about learning to be a mom and dealing with trauma, this one throws all of that out and decides this is only going to be a cautionary tale about AI, which ends with control the technology, don't let it control you. Thanks, we got that from the Time magazine article 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And it's... and then they make some bizarre choices. I mean this sincerely. So the two male characters in this are just the worst. One of them is...
They're from the Adam Devine School of Masculinity.
Yeah, they really are. Look, I don't need Arnold Schwarzenegger for this. I know we've referenced... Pick someone else if you feel so inclined. I don't need Kurt Russell. Right? Like, I don't need a masculine man for this one, but I don't need the guys who look like they're made out of Play-Doh either. Right? Like, there is a middle ground here, Hollywood.
I mean, how many kids, wouldn't model their life after Steven Seagal?
Okay, since you brought it up. The line I sent you to Aikido because it's the least aggressive martial art is that's either a mistake in the delivery of the dialogue or in the writing. It's not the least aggressive, usually is, but that's not exclusive. It's the least effective martial art in the world.
Nice.
Then, of all the people, Steven Seagal, this pathological liar, traitor. I mean that literally, like a traitor to the country.
He drove a tank and killed a dog.
A serial liar, a narcissist of the highest order, an abuser of stuntmen, just one of the only people banned from Saturday Night Live.
Nice.
They still tell horror stories about the SNL episode he hosted.
I have to imagine this is an in-joke with one of the writers.
I would assume. But everything else about this movie is so bad, I just feel like they plugged random action. They basically told the AI, Chuck Norris is a little bit too right-wing and a little bit too memed. So do we go with Van Damme or Steven Seagal? And the AI that wrote this thing decided on Seagal for some reason.
I had to laugh because I told you the thing about like when I worked in a group home and I would do entire conversations of Guns N' Roses songs, and they're doing that bit at the end with Steven Seagal movies.
I
Yeah.
mean, I would have preferred maybe Van Damme. Model yourself after Van Damme. At least he was somewhat plausible.
I wish they had written her as a Schwarzenegger fan because that bit could have gone on forever.
Yes. That would have been funnier.
For God's sakes, Kindergarten Cop.
I mean, you could have threw like the Kubaton out with Van Damme. You could have said, it's for blood sport. Lionheart.
Yes. Go on, Robert.
There's a lot of ways to go with the Van Damme movies. But I don't know. Like, I genuinely don't know if Seagal or Van Damme did more drugs.
Keep going, please.
The reveal of Christian as our villain feels like it was there just to extend the movie another 30 minutes.
He's there so they can take down rich, powerful people that use this stuff. That's his whole purpose.
Yeah, I mean, and if you didn't see that coming from his introduction, then you was blind, because they set him up so mustache twirling, nice guy that is going to be the reveal when you're first introduced to him. When he makes the stupid comment about the paperclip, and then they pay off the paperclip with M3GAN at the end because we needed that callback.
Look, you just can't trust rich men, is all. I don't know why we can't.
Right, that's why I'm broke as shit.
Sure, that's why.
That's why I'm trustworthy. I'm broke as shit.
Okay, keep going, Robert.
I can't find a nice thing to say about this movie. If you were entertained by it, Godspeed. If the humor landed for you, fair play. This was excruciating. This might make my bottom 5 when it's all said and done. It is that badly made.
So I obviously was having a good time with this, and like I said, it might be in my top 10 just because I was, it was so funny because my son reacted the way you did. He was at the end of the movie. I'm just like, I love this. And my son looked at me. He's like, Father, it's terrible. I'm like, no, I know. And then my daughter, Father, but you loved it. I'm like, oh my God, they're just pulling me either side. It's terrible. It's fun. It's terrible. Like, get off me. Go to your mother. Yeah.
Look, this is one of those times that it's important to remember it's okay to like bad things as long as you acknowledge that they're bad.
But here's the thing, so this last couple of weeks, I mean, really over the course of June, we've had to deal with Karate Kid, the 1-2 punch of Karate Kid Legends, and then Ballerina. By the way, can I tell you the backlash I'm getting about my Ballerina stuff? Like, across platform.
Mostly, I imagine it's mostly Instagram because that's where all the celebrity simps hang out.
Yeah, it's been on YouTube and it's been on.
Oh no, I've seen that you've put it up everywhere, but I imagine like the most reaction you're going to get.
The negative reaction was on YouTube and it was on TikTok, and it's like people are just like commenting on my stuff like it was a good movie. Stop, and I'm like, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
Get a break.
See, this is why you need. Okay, because you've developed a little bit of traction and interaction with your audience on that one, that's you need to like reshare the review where we talk about how bad that movie is.
It's up in a couple of different ways and generations, but my point is like I didn't have the same like visceral reaction I had to Ballerina or Karate Kid Legends when I walked out of here. But I only bring that up because I'm curious. Did you like this? Did you hate this more than Legends or Ballerina or less? Like, because we both agreed those two suck and deserve to be on the bottom 5 of the year. You're saying this one might too, and I wholeheartedly disagree with you. So I'm curious to see where it lands between the 3 movies.
Because I'm me.
Mm-hmm.
There's parts of Ballerina I'm slightly more inclined to have enjoyed.
Mm-hmm.
That has nothing to do with Ana de Armas. As slapdash and disjointed as Karate Kid Legends is, there's at least a handful of like decent acting performances. I mean, nothing great, but like I laughed more at Jackie Chan than I did at anything in M3GAN 2.
Okay. I want to hang out with you for like a week and just experience different stimuli with you because I think it would be a fun experiment.
Okay.
What you positively react to, what I positively react to, negative reactions, just like I think there's a study in here somewhere.
Tell you what, you apply for the grant.
Mm.
Then you can order all the breakfast sandwiches you want with it.
The problem is I need to physically have them, Robert. I can order whatever I want. I have credit cards. I have means. I have ways. But I need the boxes to be delivered to my house in time for breakfast tomorrow. Why would you trigger me again?
I'm just going to... Okay, I have to ask why you aren't driving to Walmart when this is over.
Leave my house?
Yeah.
Sir!
He changed jobs, right? He doesn't have to leave the house, so he doesn't leave the house.
I left my house yesterday. I'm good for the week.
Okay, at this point, you're just self-sabotaging, and I'm going to disengage from this conversation.
Fantastic.
Is that enough therapy speak for this episode?
You did good. Jason, do you have anything else you want to add before?
Yeah. Whoever did the green screen compositing for Megan's glider suit sequence should be publicly flogged.
Okay. Jason, anything you want to add?
Well, no. I mean, I was fine with female Ultron, Megan. I mean, no, it was fine. Like I said, I did. It was a very low bar to clear because. But, the girl that plays Megan, she's a creepy little bitch. Just throw that out there. And I thought it was
the voice actress or the body actress?
The body actress, because she just looks. And it was funny because they had to throw in the line that when they said, "What do you want?" She's like, "I want to be taller," because the actress hit a growth spurt.
Yes.
And they had to justify that.
They had to shoehorn into this script.
Yeah, it's like
I want to be taller. Okay, well, we'll make you like puberty taller, not like Wilt Chamberlain taller.
I want to be taller. Well, who doesn't? Okay, we should change your face because people know what you look like and you're a famous killer robot. And no, because we can't even have masks on superheroes anymore because the actors don't want their faces hidden. And the directors are worried that the audience won't be able to track the emotionality of the actor if they can't see the face, because this is where we are.
This wasn't a problem for RoboCop. I'd like to point that out for all you film historians. Go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, but I mean, and the fact that, they shoehorned that serenade song in there, which was really weird. And if you you didn't really need the first 20 minutes of this movie. The whole opening with the evil robot going rogue, that was really disjointed. The movie doesn't really start picking up until the FBI tries to invade and Megan is rescuing them throughout because she's part of the smart home. And then you come to
those Roombas.
Yeah. Then you come to and slide it on.
That was the first time I elbowed Jonas up like they're doing a Home Alone.
And then, the ice cubes and stuff. But then you look at it and, all the questions get asked, and then you kind of have to figure it out once you get to the Batcave, as Robert called it, that Megan has somehow amassed wealth to pay for all this stuff. And pay for the apartment and everything because she's written a book, but it's not sold anything. It's in a shipping container.
It was all sold. It was all bought by Megan.
Yeah, it's sitting in a shipping container. No one actually. So Megan bought them is what happened there.
Yeah.
Credit
fraud is good.
Yeah, I mean, why not? I mean, it happens.
And then this thing has like the Iron Man lab. This is Tony Stark's dream laboratory living under Soho. And somehow the super advanced AI couldn't figure out what to build itself until the humans got involved.
Well, my favorite part of this is we're going to need this special nanofiber, which they just happen to have.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the Amazon Prime, unlike your breakfast sandwiches.
I just want to, why does everyone keep bringing up my breakfast sandwiches? I've done nothing to you people. I don't even know what I'm going to have for breakfast tomorrow. I'm so depressed. Anyway.
I assume you have food. You just don't have
breakfast. What do you expect me to eat something for lunch for breakfast? And what am I going to eat for lunch, Robert? Do you think about what you say for
dinner?
Out of your mouth?
Yeah.
So you eat dinner for lunch, and then
Yeah,
Did
I eat
breakfast for
ribs for
dinner.
breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Mark, I cook them myself. They're great.
I have
Yeah.
salads for lunch, sir. And then I have Publix for dinners for dinner. What am I supposed to do? Arrange them in a different order like some sort of insane person?
Yes. Do you not have eggs?
My son made the last of the eggs. My God, him making eggs this past week when I had him here, like almost at one point, he put so much salt on it. Oh God.
Was he doing that scene from Gone in 60 Seconds?
He was trying to do like egg and like the whole of the whole and bread,
And
and
Benedict.
Yeah.
and then he's like learning from me, who's learning to cook. So like I've been told I'm a little heavy with the seasoning. So
You?
so
No.
he's fucking seasoned this egg and toast like he was Mr. Fuji throwing salt. And then he fucking bit into this thing, and you could see his eyes, his pupils fucking like shrink.
His entire face goes a little bit old man because all the water gets
Right.
sucked out of it by the salt.
Yeah, and then like he gave some to his sister, and she was like, she just, Then he gave some to me, and I'm like trying to like be a man about it. I'm like, it's fine. Meanwhile, deers are approaching us. Like, we heard you had salt, so it was a mess. Anyway, he used up all the eggs. So.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. You have bacon?
Bread
No,
for
I
toast.
eat fucking breakfast sandwiches, Robert.
Okay. Look, we'll do this after. I will figure something out for you.
I have breakfast sandwiches for breakfast because that's what you're supposed to have them. Then I
Mark?
have salad for lunch, and then I have usually a Publix for one for dinner, and that's my whole week. And it's ordered, and it's perfect. And now my life means nothing.
Okay, Mark.
Yes.
I'm the one on the spectrum here, not you.
The hell you say? Anyway,
Well, I mean, I'm sure we're all three on some degree of the spectrum, but that's to be debated at another time. But yeah, I mean, it was fine. Yeah, life will continue, Mark.
Till the
Even though
AI connects with the supercomputer under the Xerox building, and then it will just end all this miserable
doing
existence.
a lot of TikToks lately about the collapse of the third age of civilization. It can't get here fast enough. Preferably before tomorrow morning, so I don't have to go breakfastless.
Have some DoorDash in the morning, okay?
I did that today. What do you think? I'm fucking Rockefeller over here? I got to DoorDash my breakfast every day?
Oh my God.
Okay,
I
enough
swear
about
you
Mark's
did-
domestic issues.
Yeah,
You can tell how interesting this movie was by how much time we've now spent trying to sort out Mark's breakfast tomorrow.
It reminds me of when we did Pet Cemetery, the new make Pet Cemetery. But yeah, I mean, it was fine. I mean, it's not going to win any awards. It was never meant to
It'll
win
win a
any
few
awards.
Razzies.
I doubt that. I don't think it was that bad.
Here's the thing: is I don't think anyone thinks it's as bad as we do. Like I think everyone, because people.
I mean, it's better than Ironheart.
Well, here's the thing. I don't want to talk about Ironheart.
That's the lowest of bars. Literal lowest.
I haven't been paying any attention to stuff like that, so like, and because my whole life has now changed in the last 2 months because I started working from home. I'm not really following a lot of the YouTubers anymore. Like I barely have time to watch that stuff. So I'll follow the ones I like Critical Drinker, but only if he's talking about something I'm interested in. I woke up this morning and there was a deluge of Ironheart stuff, and I'm like, oh, I guess everyone's seen it now.
The first 3 episodes, and then the next 3 come out. I think the first 3 came out last week, and the next 3 are going to come out.
Okay.
Yeah, Disney said, "Here, we're going to try to be the forefront of this, but we're going to do everything that we have. We're going to make it the worst possible. And even though we're trying to do diversity, we're going to make diversity everything evil. And it's like the biggest stereotypes ever. Like she is like she's black, so she's a thief. So." I'm being dead serious.
Like
she is a thief.
Yeah, the bit here is Riri gets kicked out of school, out of MIT, for helping people cheat. She complains about Tony Stark's success being only because he was a billionaire, ignoring the first and third movies entirely, I suppose. Then she's like induced into the gang of stereotypical DEI, like almost to the point where it should be parody. This should be a parody of what diversity hires looks like. This is the gang that the Hood, not Tim Robbins, of course, but the Hood now uses.
South Bronx.
And she sells her soul to the Hood because the Hood is part of its magical powers. And now she's a thief. Your Iron Man replacement is an insufferable thief.
Okay.
And the what is it? The brothers from the comics that are supposed to be aliens are transgender. So
that's almost as good as like the Black British gay Robin Hood show I heard about.
I put it to you like this way. Do you remember when we did the Blackening?
Yeah.
And all the stereotypes in that? It's basically a Marvel movie now. A Marvel series.
Everything is a Marvel movie. I hate the world we live in. All right, I'm moving this on. Jason, are you staying for the money or not?
No, I'm about to bounce because I have a 9 a.m. appointment that's 2.5 hours away.
Okay, do me a favor. On your way to bed, drive by my house with breakfast sandwiches.
Okay. Hey, I will do that on October 18th.
No, Jason, I have to eat breakfast tomorrow, so...
No, I won't be there.
Jason, we're best friends, remember? Remember you said we were best friends?
No, we're not. I never said that.
Jason, remember you said I love you? Like you,
I never said I love you.
All of you guys saying how much you love me. If you truly loved me, I would have Jimmy Dean breakfast sandwiches in my fucking house right now.
I mean, I'm sure there's somebody's sausage you can suck on around there in Tampa, but it ain't going to be delivered by me.
Well, that would involve leaving my house, sir, and I've already told you I'm not doing that.
No, you can get Grindr to come over. They make house calls. But all right, guys. It's been fun. I'll talk to you guys later.
Bye, Jason.
See you, Jason.
Well, you can get grinders to make a house call is the phrase that pays here on the Rattles and Broadcasting Network. So here comes the money.
We're in the money. We're in the money.
Can I tell you real fast?
Yes, sir.
I encountered the Simpsons episode that clip is from the other day.
Yeah.
I almost went into podcast mode after it was done.
Robert's is talking to absolutely nobody, and that was the weekend that was. What the fuck?
I'm not kidding. Like I am at this point. It's almost a Pavlovian response to that clip, and I found it in the wild. I watched Simpsons with my mom and my aunt a few episodes a week.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things we do when I'm over there because it's fun and we enjoy it. And that episode is coming up, and I try to stay a few episodes ahead because I can then talk about fun stuff from the episode, et cetera, et cetera. I found it again. I encountered it in the wild, and I had to pause the episode when it got done and just like, nope, we are not podcasting. Stop that connection in my brain briefly because it's strong.
So I made a point of saying that I'm no longer gonna waste my time editing clips from these shows and putting them on TikTok. The desired effect was that people would see the clips on TikTok and then find the podcast, and we would grow the podcast. Social media consumption is weirdly siloed. It does not flow from one thing to another. If you're on TikTok, and you're popular on TikTok, most people don't then branch out to see where they're not clicking on the profile to see what it is you're doing in the world. They're with the exception of maybe OnlyFans girls, and then only some of them, because that's why they do it too. People like OnlyFans people, they put a bunch of content on TikTok. Then if you like their content, you'll click their bio, and they'll
watch me bounce. And if you want to see this without the clothes, give me money.
Then you click on their link, and it takes you to usually their link tree, and then their link tree has their OnlyFans. Using the same method, but not nearly as successful, I thought I will put clips of the shows on there. People will like the clips. They will want to see the podcast in its entirety. They will either follow us to YouTube or they will follow us to, say, Spotify and download the audio the way God intended. None of these things happen, to my knowledge. I check my numbers on Spreaker every once in a while. They're about what they've always been. And, YouTube has grown, but only because there's been like a change in what we're doing on YouTube, not because of the clips necessarily. So we have more YouTube usage, but only because we have more content, and it's just recycled content from what I've already done. It's a longer podcast made into a shorter podcast. So I decided I'm not going to do this anymore. I have much more success. I've had 2 videos go over 10,000. One of them is almost 70,000 views.
Woo.
Yeah. So
Hey, 70,000 people. Here's what you need to do: record a TikTok begging for breakfast sandwiches.
Somebody will answer the call.
Presumably.
Yes, that's not a bad idea. Maybe we'll do that when we're done here. Look, Max, let me tell you something. Breakfast sandwiches. I actually can't wait to. This is what I was getting to. I can't. What I've been doing is I'll take this entire podcast. I'll either have Notebook LM, as I've always been doing, pull 10 minutes out, throw that into ChatGPT, and says 1 minute script, and it gives me a 1 minute script, kind of distilling all of this nonsense into something people might actually want to, watch on TikTok for the attention span that particular social media app warrants. So
you're even pushing that with your 2-minute TikTok.
Oh, I know. I get up to 5 minutes. I'm into journal length, and people are just like, all right, I did not get on here to listen to your TED Talk. So my point is that I can't wait to throw this transcript into ChatGPT and it do just an entire thing on breakfast sandwiches.
It's going to flash at you a few times and then just say no.
No, I'm gonna get it scripted. The title's gonna be "Why M3GAN 2.0 was like a breakfast sandwich," and I will read that. And I will read that without even checking it. There will be no stress testing. There will be no researching. It'll be like, you got it. I will read this nonsense to the people. And that will be the one that gets 1 million because we live in the worst timeline. All right. The weekend that was. M3GAN, God bless her, on a budget of $15 to $25 million.
You know what? Minor props for at least being a somewhat appropriate budget, but
yeah. Well, the other one was shot for 2 shillings and a halfpenny as well, but it actually earned its money. Yeah, this one is at $17.2 million. So, hooray. In the U.S. and Canada, M3GAN 2.0 was released alongside F1 and was projected to gross around $20 million from just over 3,000 theaters in its opening weekend. The film made $4.6 million on its first day, including $1.5 million from Thursday night previews. It went on to debut $10.2 million, finishing 5th. And only earning around a third in the first film's $30.4 million opening weekend. Yes, this should never have been greenlit for a second one. Stop relying on metrics to greenlit movies, for God's sakes. All right,
you're not wrong.
F1 finally unseated How to Train Your Dragon in its third week. So F1 was your number 1 movie of the weekend. Apparently,
look at that take.
It's this year's Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah. Hey, who'd have thought? You make a movie for men, and they'll show up and watch it. Novel concept.
Now who's making it weird? Meh.
How is that weird?
Because never mind. How to Train Your Dragon fell from 1 to 2.
I thought you had kind of gotten over sexualizing everything, Mark.
I have. You're the one that. Never mind. Ilya remained at number 3 for the weekend. It held its spot. Only a 50% drop from the.
So look, we talked a little bit about this. If Elio doesn't have. Pixar doesn't have the cachet it used to, so there's a lot of people who do the wait and see thing.
Right.
50% drop is okay, but it opens so soft that it's going to have to hold pretty much where it is now for
that was another thing that happened. I did a whole thing on why it's not doing well, and but it's a good movie, and I'm like, the fuck you arguing with me for? I didn't say if it was good or bad. I just said why it's not doing well.
People conflate the two.
Maybe Jimmy Dean will sponsor you. I'll just take the sandwiches.
They can pay Mark in sandwiches. That's true.
You can absolutely pay me in sandwiches. Sandwich. We finish each other's sandwiches. M3GAN debuted at 4. Yeesh. 28 years later, dropped from 2 to 5.
Rough kind of drop for that one.
It's not, from what I understand, it's not getting a good reception.
Well, we're going to talk about this later. So I'm not going to spoil my full review of it because we're going to talk about it in August. but the movie has a really strong first act,
Mhm.
an acceptable second act,
Mhm.
and then it
Comes up with-
really starts to struggle in the third. And the actual ending, I understand what they were trying to go for, believe it or not. They're also like trying to set up the sequel, which has already been shot and is
Right.
going to release January of next year.
Right.
Unfortunately, that one was directed by Nia DaCosta.
Oh. Oh no. I
So-
remember. I remember Nia DaCosta. This can't end well.
So point being, we'll talk about it when we talk about it. Much as I understand what they're trying to do, the actual ending is so tonally inconsistent that it's a giant miss, and it colors everything you think about when you think about the movie after you leave. There's some really, really good stuff in that movie, but it is uneven, and it is not helped by Alex Garland being a theme over substance writer through and through.
Lilo and Stitch fell from 4 to 6. Mission Impossible.
They're
5
making
to
a
7.
sequel, Mark.
Yeah, I know. I did a whole TikTok on it. Materialists fell from 6 to 8. Ballerina 7 to 9, and Karate Kid fell from 8 to 10. Final Destinations is out of the top 10. That fell to 11. And let's see. We've got Sorry Baby, In the Mood for Love, 25th anniversary. Hot Milk. Ugh. The Last Class, Afternoons of Solitude. And that was the weekend. That was worldwide. All right. Yeah, still not a lot of movement here. Lilo and Stitch, 10 million away from surpassing a Minecraft movie, but
It's
still,
probably going to, but the people who were like, "Oh, it's tracking to break $1 billion." At this point, that seems like it's gonna fall a little short.
maybe. So we have Ninja, a Minecraft, which is currently streaming on Max. Lilo and Stitch, 10 million shy from the number 2 spot.
And like a
Mission-
week away from going on to Disney Plus.
Mission Impossible rising up to number 4 with 562 million. So still 400 million in between the number 3 and number 4.
Yeah.
But getting a little bit closer. How to Train Your Dragons at number 5 with 456. Captain America still hanging in there at 415. Thunderbolts.
Still losing money.
Thunderbolts is number 7 with 381.
Also losing money.
Sinners is 364.
Not losing money.
Final Destinations 283. And Snow White hanging on to the top 10 spot for at least
That
one more
will
week.
be gone in 2 weeks. F1's gonna kick it out.
Yeah, well, I mean, even if F1 doesn't kick it out, what do we have this weekend coming up? We have Jurassic World. Yeah, it's done.
Jurassic World won't do it its first week, but
You don't think Jurassic World makes more than 200 million in its opening weekend?
no.
I think you're crazy. From what I understand, so the reviews are out on Jurassic World now, and critically, it's getting good. It's getting a good reception.
No, it's not.
What I read was it's a return to form over where the series had gone to by the end of it. So we'll see.
Look, I can tell you the ones I saw about it.
Okay, I read Variety. What'd you read?
Not shills.
Possible.
Look, let me give you my preface for Rebirth. It's
Mhm.
gonna be better than Dominion. It has to be. It can't be worse.
Well, that was the second one, right?
No, that's Fallen Kingdom.
Okay. Oh God, Fallen Kingdom was the haunted house one that we hated.
Yeah, I was okay with Fallen Kingdom. Not great, but okay.
I fucking hated Fallen Kingdom. I
Yeah,
didn't.
because
I didn't mind
you're you.
Dominion, but Dominion was a letdown from where they were.
Dominion's
going
the one where like we do globe trotting and we've got the raptor variants that chase him through the streets of Morocco.
Well, more importantly, it was their attempt to do an Avengers, and it was also like they had a really fun. So
Alan Grant
hang on,
being
let's talk about this for a second, because Jurassic World was everything I wanted at a Jurassic Park. They finally
because you're
did it.
weird.
They finally
okay.
did. We have a working park that is overrun by dinosaurs, as opposed to a not working park, a park that was, they were trying to see if it was going to work or not. So the park is empty, and all it has is the people that work there. I wanted to see, and everyone wanted to see, what does everybody want besides head? They wanted to see the entire park filled with tourists and have the tourists be eaten up by dinosaurs. That's what everybody wants. It's what everybody needs. It's the movie we deserved. And we finally got it with Jurassic World, which is why I love that movie. Then they were like, all right, well, what else can we do with a park full of, we've now destroyed yet another park. We don't have a park anymore. So how are we going to do a sequel to the movie where, people get killed by dinosaurs running amok in a park? I know, Haunted House. Ugh. So then we get Dominion. And the whole setup to Dominion is the dinosaurs have, escaped their enclosure and have, just bred out.
Somehow the mega fauna that require specific temperatures to exist that are not actually looking the way they looked when they walked the earth because we genetically engineered them that way for the sake of continuing to appeal to pop culture ignorance, and whose nutritional requirements require the existence of megaflora are now just flourishing out in the wilds of Alaska.
Yeah, because I don't care about any of that, but that's happening and that's awesome. So what we really wanted to see was T-Rexes like Godzilla traipsing through New York and pterodactyls messing with airplanes and, oh God, what are we going to do? It's the end of the world as we know it and I feel fine, says Michael Stipe. He wasn't in the movie. Doesn't matter. Anyway, my point is, this is what they promised us with Dominion. And then they go, news footage.
And what if we get some of the people from the first movie and the old heroes are now bumbling buffoons because this is what we have to do. And we'll go to an island and we'll have an evil...
Yeah. They take
another evil Steve Jobs knockoff because this is all we do anymore.
So they take an awesome premise, they sideline it so they could basically retell a story from one of the first three. It's I'm so angry about this. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with this third one. This fourth one.
The reviews that have come across my feed are tend to be just, what was it? Somebody did the meme of the architect from the second Matrix movie.
Mm-hmm.
This is the 7th time we've rebuilt a Jurassic Park sequel. We've gotten exceedingly good at it, no matter how bad they are.
Yeah. I think I think people will enjoy it. That's my prediction. I think it's going to do well. I think it gets into the top 10 in its opening weekend. I absolutely think it's. And I haven't checked the tracking numbers yet, but I have a sneaking suspicion it'll do north of 205, which is all it has to do to get into the top 10.
It's possible. Again, I'm kind of doubtful. I don't know. Look, I think the movie's not going to be very good at the end of the day, but I think there's two things the Jurassic World franchise has going for it at this point.
Dinosaurs?
No. That's not Mark, come on. We're about to watch Superman fight at least 4 alien monsters that are the size of kaiju. Dinosaurs are not a selling point. What it doesn't have is the baggage that a bunch of these other franchises do.
Yeah, it's another soft reboot, which... All right, anyway, so it's got Jurassic World coming up.
Really, I just want that franchise to merge with Planet of the Apes at some point, because that's kind of where we're headed.
And then I believe after that is Superman.
Probably.
Yeah, after that is Superman... Then Fantastic Four. Nope. Then I just know what you did last summer. And then there's Fantastic Four,
which is that's gonna just bomb.
So anyway, that's what. So yeah, M3GAN will be a thing of the past as of this weekend.
Did you see some of the sound bites that came out from Pedro Pascal this week about Fantastic Four?
I've heard he's single-handedly destroying that movie and anything he gets in his way. I haven't really been following it though.
Well, this is not so much about him, but he said, so he developed a mid-Atlantic accent for that movie.
Okay.
Because it's, appropriate for the setting. Had a dialect coach and everything. Pedro Pascal actually putting in work trying to act for once in his life. And Kevin Feige basically said, oh, you're doing something interesting. We don't do that here. Just talk like yourself. Marvel.
Marvel. We abhor interesting. All right. Speaking of abhorring interesting, ladies and gentlemen, the critical PU. Hang on. There it is.
Are you ready? No! I said, are you ready?
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
Everything about what I'm looking at makes sense.
Yeah, that all kind of tracks.
So the tomato meter has it at 57
It's probably going to go lower with top critics.
considerably.
45.
Drops from 57 to 45 between all critics and top critics. A verified audience is 83%. All audience is 79. Yeah, like I said, people who don't think critically about these things are probably having a hootin' good time. And
Yeah,
people
oh,
who
hey,
have to
hey,
actually
look.
review the movie.
Look over there on the right.
I see it.
The early reviews for Jurassic World Rebirth. 58%. You were saying?
I say that the AI writes, M3GAN 2.0 swaps the original horror software for a more action-leaning programming. That doesn't prove to be an upgrade, although the quippy AI remains an amusing mascot of Slay.
No.
Everything about that is terrible.
Everything about your crappy AI could do better than that.
Don't you talk bad about her? Short of getting me my goddamn breakfast sandwiches, she's perfect in every way.
She's
right.
Okay. You want to have this? I have to ask you a serious question about your relationship with the AI by asking you the following.
Yes.
Has your AI chatbot ever told you you're wrong?
Yeah.
When?
When I'm working out my TikToks and I'm saying, hey, stress test this, there are certain times I don't have it completely right, and it says this is more closer to what you're trying to get at than this.
That's not saying you're wrong.
Okay.
That's refined. That's, again, kind of the editorial process that you want for it. Have you ever asked the thing a question or made a statement to it and it says you're wrong?
Robert, I spent like a couple of hours talking to this thing about how it's made up. I understand what it's supposed to do and what it's not supposed to do.
That's not an answer.
It is. It's the only answer you're going to get out of me.
All right.
James Berard Dinelli of Real Views. It's not the worst thing I've seen, but it's among the year's most soulless, unentertaining slogs. Sir,
Look,
so
man,
much worse.
I agree with this, and I'm still going to say you are not the pontiff of entertainment.
There's a couple of real great ones here. Abby Bernstein of Assignment X. Twice the homicidal robots, twice the fun. Ugh.
I got jingling keys for you. Do that instead.
Rich Juzwiak of Slate, top critic. M3GAN 2.0 is overall a downgrade.
Yeah. Yes. Not the best poll, but yes, an accurate sentiment.
I don't like it. Oh, Jeff didn't like it either. Jeff Harris of 401 Mania. This film isn't helped by a messy, plotting, dull, and boring runtime.
True.
Along with an overwrought and nonsensical final act.
Also
Fans
true.
of the killer doll will likely enjoy her antics, but they fail to significantly elevate the experience.
Jeff batting 1,000 on that one.
Yes, no argument there. Oh boy. Nick Johnson of Onyland. M3GAN 2.0 shows the franchise is thoroughly worn out its welcome.
Yeah, this should never have existed.
No.
Or, as I mentioned, there's a time when this kind of a thing would have gone straight to DVD, and we'd accept that this is what we do. Because that's what you did with crappy sequels.
Unbalanced algorithm, Travis Hobson of Punch Drunk Critics. With those moments of rooting for the former villain are over, the film lacks the witty humor to completely pull off such a drastic change.
Yeah, that's a very poor sentence to have pulled for that, because that doesn't make a lot of sense.
God, I'm tired of life.
Tired and sandwichless. What a bad way to be.
Speaking of having no sandwiches, Carl LaHaye of Culture Mix. M3GAN 2.0
The culture.
Yes. M3GAN should be subtitled M3GAN's Mishandled Identity Crisis.
No, it shouldn't. How could you arrive at that conclusion?
In this messy
Who
and
pays you for this?
this messy and convoluted sequel, the titular robot doll has changed from being a campy horror villain to an action comedy hero. The villain is an uninteresting adult M3GAN lookalike. Again,
That
Terminator 3, everyone.
That's also not true. Amelia doesn't look that much like M3GAN.
I had a couple of times convince myself that wasn't what's her nut, Scarlet Witch.
Elizabeth Olsen?
Yeah, I'm like, is that Elizabeth Olsen? Huh. She looks young.
It's an Elizabeth Olsen type.
It is definitely an Elizabeth Olsen face, but not Elizabeth Olsen.
Her face was scanned and then digitally composited onto a body AI style. And
there we go. All right, last one. Jeff Nelson of Guy at the Movies.
are you now?
M3GAN 2.0 dials down the horror in the camp, swapping them for convoluted action sci-fi spectacle.
This isn't even a spectacle. Spectacle's kind of dead to begin with because we've seen everything at this point.
I was thinking about that because you sent me the video from the Critical Drinkers open bar, and they were like, "Spectacle's dead," and because at this point, what is there to do? And here's the thing: the title of the piece is called "Culture is Dead," and I'm like, I beg to differ. There's plenty of culture out there. How many people are seeing it, and how much it's being talked about, and does it carry the cachet that art in cinema used to have? That's debatable, but it's out there. I mean, every year we do an Oscar podcast, and some of those are like, why is this here? But some of them are like,
most of them.
But some of them are absolutely like, no, this deserves to be here. This deserves to be celebrated as high culture. However, spectacle, I was like, going all the way back to the 90s. You had Independence Day, and Independence Day was utterly sold on the idea of you were going to watch four cities blow up by laser beam. And I remember, like, nobody cared about the rest of that movie. Like, don't get me wrong, people, when Randy Quaid, flies his biplane into the
it's not a biplane. It originally was in the script, but they changed it because they thought it looked too stupid.
Whatever it was. No, is he in a jet? No, he's in the jet.
Yeah, he's just in a jet.
Okay, I don't remember, so sue me.
Okay, the original way it was written was he was not cleared to fly a fighter jet because of his alcoholism.
Right, so he flies the biplane.
So he grabs his biplane, straps a missile to it, and does a 9/11.
Right. I was going to go with does the Star Wars, but okay. But anyway.
It was a kamikaze then. But they changed it because they thought, like, this is just too dumb. The thought of this plane getting by all the other fighters is just too dumb. So they just had the missile malfunction, so he does the same thing anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, but we all like cheer when Randy Quaid, makes the sacrifice. We love the thing, the blowing up of the cities and all of that. But like that was an event. Like Independence Day, good, bad, or indifferent, was an event at the time.
Yeah. I remember it.
And here's the thing: it's like it wasn't that long ago that Lucasfilm was bought by Disney, and they relaunched Star Wars. And I'm gonna tell you right now, The Phantom Menace, good, bad, or indifferent, was an event. Like it had been how many years since The Revenge of the Sith, and we were finally getting a new movie. We were getting like
okay. Hang on. You're not talking about Phantom Menace. You're talking about Force Awakens.
What I was trying to say was it had been how many years since Revenge of the Sith is what I meant.
Look, yeah, but hang on. The point is not that spectacle has never existed.
No, I understand. I don't know why this point got
never
lost.
Mind.
So that's my point. Like it wasn't. We haven't been without spectacle for all that long. Well, it's been. I don't know. I would say the last thing that was a true spectacle, like a cultural event in cinema, was probably Endgame, and that was 2019, which means it's only been 6 years.
Let me just counter that slightly with Endgame. Endgame's not a spectacle in the way that we're talking about when you talk about a big spectacle on the screen. Endgame is a culmination.
Okay.
Like,
so, okay, if you're not talking about like bringing back something that had been gone for a while, and you're not talking about the culmination of a 10-year story, then what was the last Independence Day in your mind?
in my mind, so for me, a spectacle is a movie that has so much awesome stuff going on that maybe I haven't seen before that I have to see it on the big screen. There's
Okay.
something about the movie that demands I see it in that experience instead of waiting for it on my computer or my phone. I don't watch movies on my phone out of principle, but hypothetically. And if I'm being honest, the last movie I thought like actually maximized what it is to be a theatrical exhibition, probably Interstellar. And that's a while ago at this point.
Is that after Avatar, the original?
Yes.
All right, I can't necessarily disagree with you if you're limiting what the answer is. I would still say the last one was Endgame, but I'm not going to quibble with you over how we're defining spectacle.
Okay, fair enough. Well, even if we take Endgame, 6 years without something that makes you sit up and go, I had to see that on the big screen? That's not nothing.
Yeah. So I think it's too far a bridge to say culture is dead the way those guys were going on about it.
Well, in fairness, the point was like the discussion was centered around the question, have we reached a cultural dead end?
Yeah.
And
here's the thing. My dad has said for years there are only 7 stories in the known universe. We just keep finding various ways to tell them, and I truly believe that. And I don't think that's
that absolutely.
And I don't think that's the problem. I think everybody, why are you guys talking about this relative to M3GAN? Because Megan's a great example of this. The problem isn't there are no good stories. There's plenty of good stories. The problem is we have we have a long tail distribution service. When the guy is kind of bellyaching about where we are with dead end culture, I don't think, to me, that seemed like that was stupid conversation. The one guy that was talking about how we are the long tail of content distribution is making it so there's no unified cultural experience. That's the problem. But I've been saying that for years.
I mean this in all sincerity. I think the last thing that functioned as water cooler conversation, right?
Mm-hmm.
That you could, at work, even if you weren't good friends, like, what can we talk about? Here's a television show. Here's a movie. Like, here's a thing that it is reasonable to expect a group of people to have experienced at the same time. I think the last thing that had that for us, missed it, was Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I'll buy that. I mean, it's so funny because there's a couple of things that were all happening around the same time. Look, I am a lot more social than you. I used to be more social than you. Now I don't want to be.
Now you don't want to leave your house to get breakfast sandwiches.
And I'm so sad about this. Like, not that I can't afford to skip a meal, but I work hard and I deserve my breakfast sandwiches. You got me going again. Listen to me. God damn, pal. I went to a lot of parties. I've done a lot of socializing. Some would say too much. Every time I went to, there was like 3 or 4 things I could talk with. It's so funny. My ex-wife would say to me, they were like, it's interesting to see you in like mixed company because you have no problem striking up conversations with people. You have no problem like making friends. And I'm like, it's not that hard. There's 5 conversation starters.
It's kind of like black magic. I don't know how you do it.
It's easy. Like, hey, anyone seen the new Marvel? 1. Anyone seen the new Star Wars? 2. Anyone like Metallica? 3. Anyone seen the new DC? 4. Sports. That's it. I could walk into a crowd, take a look at how everyone was dressed, and say one of those things, and immediately 3 or 4 guys and 1 chick would walk over and start a conversation with me. And like Socrates, they would sit at my feet and be like, "Tell us, master of culture, what information can you give us about the Marvel? What can you tell us about the Star Wars?" And this would go for hours.
Nothing good.
You're missing the point as usual. For a while there, you could absolutely say one of those things, and
Until about 2022.
Yeah. And then it's so funny, like, if you gathered a bunch of people around my age,
Got it.
plus or minus 5 years, what did you watch as a kid? We all watched. This is the last point I'm going to make, and then we're going to close up. We all watched G.I. Joe. We all watched Transformers.
Yep.
We all watched He-Man. We all watched Voltron. We all watched Thundercats. Depending on your age, you can sub out one or two of those. You can't sub out all five. And no matter where you went, no matter who you talked to, you could always talk about one of those five things. It was a binding glue of culture that kept us together. I go and talk to my kids. What have you been doing all day? My son's on YouTube looking up Dyson spheres. My daughter is, I don't know what the fuck she's doing. She said, hey, what are you doing? She's like listening to music, but also watching YouTube videos. And I'm like, well, what YouTube videos are you watching? And she starts to talk, and all I hear is beep, boop, bop, bop, bop. And I'm like, all right, I need to leave the room. You're not on drugs as near as I can tell. So it's fine. Do whatever you want. And I think that's what a lot of people's experiences now is you put 5 or 6 people in the same room together and go, all right, engage with culture. And the probability of what they're into is infinite. You have no fucking clue what they're going to be watching or doing. No, zero. It's entirely possible they're not even watching anything.
And there's the probability of them having read a book in the last 4 years is quite low.
Unless you're talking about a manga. So my point being, and when we talk about like, is culture, or have we reached a cultural dead end? I don't think so. There's plenty of culture being made. There's plenty of good stuff out there. Again, we talk about it every once in a while on here. What we don't have are grand unifying cultural events, and that's unfortunate.
Throw
Throw it in the heap of history along with the fucking mall and Blockbuster and all kinds of stuff.
Here's the thing though. We could survive the loss of those provided we still had things we could engage with each other about.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that now, like, you could try to start up a conversation about Star Wars, you're gonna get the one like uber nerd, and nobody else cares. Star Wars is dead.
Here's the problem: is if you go into a room and you be like, I would like to talk about Star Wars, the one person that's going to come up to you is the zealot.
Yeah.
Whose whatever opinion on Star Wars is given to him by God and will truck with no other opinions.
And Marvel is a giant mess.
Mm-hmm.
That you'll get someone who went, yeah, I saw Thunderbolts. I kind of liked it. And the other 4 people are going to go, wait, Thunderbolts? What's that?
Yeah. All right.
This is where we are.
Yeah. So this is where we are is the phrase that pays here on the Rattlevision Broadcasting Network. Short week this week. There was no show yesterday because I was out and about, socializing, as it were. No shows Tuesday or Wednesday of this week. But
not grocery shopping.
Shut the hate you. Thursday, we are doing, by the way, so you've been bitching and moaning and crying and complaining and hijacking and telling me, oh my God, finally, Chris Bailey, you're up to the shitty season of the West Wing. And I'm like, pish posh, you said that about season 5 and it was my favorite. Okay, season 6 sucks. Season 6 is fucking terrible.
Look, 5, I should have phrased it as follows. I was a little bit glib when I just said, no, 5's kind of where it started to fall apart. 5 is divisive, is what I should have said.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's people who do enjoy it, and there's still some decent things. 6 is where it really falls apart.
Yeah, I'm not enjoying 6. It's going to be an interesting review Thursday. So we're going to do the West Wing. Next week, we've got Sunday. Myself and Jesse are going to do a triple feature of Barry Levinson movies, as a matter of fact.
Well, that's an interesting choice.
Yeah, we're going to look at Good Morning Vietnam, which I screamed in my son's face on Sunday.
Why?
Because I'm his father.
Okay, but why the morning?
Sleepers and Wag the Dog. So I'm
Sleepers is a real interesting one to have come out of Levinson.
Yeah.
It is very much not like the other two.
So I'm going to watch those with Jesse and have ourselves a time. Then me and you are doing Jurassic World Rebirth.
God help us.
Wednesday, myself and Harry Broadhurst will be talking about my favorite wrestling event of the year. Not WrestleMania, not Assholes in the Arena, not the Royal Rumble. No. Game Changer Wrestling. Backyard Wrestling. Yes, sir, Bob. I can't wait. I look forward to this event every single year. I was telling my girlfriend about it, and after that,
And she left you
and she left, and she got on her horse and rode away.
with your sandwiches. This is why
mother-
you don't have them. You tried to sell her on Backyard Wrestling.
So, speaking of backyard wrestling, Shay Tate will be with us. We'll be doing a triple feature of musicals, so Robert will be nowhere in sight. We'll be looking at Odessa, which came out on Hulu a few months ago. The End, which came out late last year that nobody knows about, and I only know about it because I had to look it up. And because I am a glutton for punishment, Dear Evan Hansen. Yes,
yeah, you're a glutton.
So,
And punishment is one of the things you glut upon.
and because this week is a kid, or next week is a kid week, I will be doing I will be picking up where Ronnie left off. I'll be doing season 2 of Tulsa King with Pat. And then on the 12th, there's nothing on the 12th.
Season 2 is pretty good.
I believe you. Alrighty. So that's that. Robert, do your thing.
Mark.
Yes, sir.
All right. Tonight, brought to you by Jimmy Dean's, apparently.
Yes, sir. Yes.
I cover mixed martial arts and professional
I
wrestling
will
over at
put my address on the screen if someone brings me breakfast sausages before 12:30 Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
I'm just saying. Like, Walmart's open.
Yes, it is. Are your legs broken?
I have so much stuff to do. I have 3 face reads to do. I got to finish pulling art. I got to write the schedule because the rest of you chimpanzees can't seem to follow it when I put it out originally.
Hey,
I have to itemize the fucking thing to drag you babies along to make sure you show up to your podcast on time.
hold on. I accept that gripe as a generality, but you know damn well I have never missed one of these.
That's fair. You're a goddamn professional.
Darn right I am. Mark, all I have is my word. So that's all I got. My bank account can attest to it.
Yes, sir.
But it means something. So when I say I'm going to be here and do it, I'm
Yeah.
going to be here and
I
do
don't
it.
typically have to write an itemized schedule for you and give it to you and then remind you tonight's the night. You're the only one, though.
Again, that's why I accept that your general griping about this is well-founded.
Do we have a podcast tonight? Yes, you deaf, dumb, and blind motherfucker. Anyway, you were saying.
I cover mixed martial arts and professional wrestling, WWE SmackDown on Fridays, UFC events on Saturdays. So the last UFC event was the go-home show for the Night of Champions. Night of Champions, of course, being in the day and featuring only 2 title matches.
I didn't even notice that, but you're absolutely right.
And CM Punk sucking a blood-covered dick, in his own words.
Fantastic.
He said that to The Miz about going to Saudi Arabia. It's still up on his Twitter profile.
Yes, he's a giant hypocrite. Move on.
Yes, he is. So the night before Night of Champions on SmackDown had 3 title matches. And the announcement that SmackDown's going back to 2 hours. Thank you, God, for small miracles. So this coming Friday, I think that... Can I tell you something, Mark?
Sure.
Normally, I'd have to ask. Friday's the 4th of July. Is there actually going to be a professional wrestling event on the 4th of July? But I don't have to ask. Because it's WWE. Of course they are. Of course I'm going to have to waste my 4th of July evening covering that. Ugh. I hate it. Normally this doesn't bother me. It bothers me this time for some reason. It's really kind of gotten under my skin. So we'll see about that, but back to 2 hours at least. So thumbs up there.
Can I tell you, I looked on my calendar for the July and I noticed I had a dentist appointment in a couple of weeks. And I went, oh, shit. I don't know my company's procedure for taking time off.
That's not you. That's me.
So I quick texted my manager and I'm like, hey, I have an appointment. Is it too late to take PTO, take a day off so I can go do this dentist appointment? Because I made it when I had my old job and I would have been off by that point. And she's like, no, go ahead. Go on her instructions. Go on the website and go and take PTO. And I'm like, I guess I'll teach myself how to do this. Thank you, manager, for your specific instructions. She's like, no problem. I'm like, all right. So I go on there and I figure it out because I'm a smart boy. And my mother tells me so. And then I submit my PTO request, and I'm like, I'm going to take a whole day off of this. And I start to think to myself, oh, a whole day with no work and nothing else to do and just this dentist appointment late in the afternoon? What will I ever do with immediately get a phone call? Hi, this is your dentist. We're going to redo our floors that day. I know we've had this appointment for 6 months, but would you mind moving it? These are for you, McNulty.
You know, the fact that you can't laugh in the face of your dentist front office when they say, so what's a good day for you 6 months from now? Like, you laugh at them and they get annoyed with you.
Here's the thing, like, I have such bad luck with this stuff. Like, I dutifully make my doctor and dentist appointments, and then usually within a week they cancel them. And because I have to move heaven and earth to make sure I have the time available, I get a little more than annoyed about this, because doctors and dentists, they just seem to think that nobody works, which that's fine. We're getting close to that, but we're not there yet. So, like, all of us working people just can't just take off and show up when the doctor wakes up from his nap or whatever and is able to see you.
There is an assumption on their part that they are the most important thing.
She was like, would you like to reschedule it? I'm like, would you like to suck my dick? No, I don't want to reschedule. I'll deal with this later. I have no time for you. That, and my insurance doesn't start until after July.
That's fair. So I cover, again, SmackDown on Fridays, UFC on Saturdays. UFC 317 was Saturday, and it reminded me why I like the sport. It's a really good event.
I'm so happy.
Hey, Mark, what were you watching on Saturday night?
Nothing, because we lost power.
I'm sorry to hear that.
That's not true. I watched the Jake Paul fight on my iPad, which has cell service.
Which was what you may as well have not.
It was rough, man. It was so late in the night, I could fall asleep.
Why? I have to ask you this in all sincerity, Mark. Why?
Glutton for punishment. Can you finish, please? I'm tired. I have things to do.
You have to be a glutton for punishment to still watch Jake Paul fights. But yeah, Ilia Topuria knocked out Charles Oliveira in less than 3 minutes. Alexandre Pantoja is now firmly establishing himself as the second best flyweight in history, and putting yourself in the conversation with Demetrius Johnson is a feat unto itself, so good for him. Joshua Van and Brandon Royval had one of the fights of the year. There's a lot of good stuff there. So you can listen to my full review of it on the 411 Ground and Pound MMA podcast. I also go on a rant about the Liver King and Joe Rogan. Not because I care about their beef. I could not possibly care less. But because idiots talked about it. And this was an excuse for me to remind everyone that self-defense is a legal category of violence, not a thing you get to claim. Boy, why didn't Joe Rogan go out and attack him when the Liver King was on his yard at 3 a.m? I don't know, because he's a maniac who might have a gun or a knife. But he trains. Why'd he call the cops? You people are idiots. So I got to yell about that for a little bit because I wanted to. So listen to that if you're interested in the wide, wacky, wonderful world of mixed martial arts. There's no UFC event this Saturday because the UFC understands that there's holidays that you should not infringe upon. Even the UFC understands this. But I'm pretty sure SmackDown's going to have something. I'm going to double check this because if they are doing like a best of special, I'm going to beg off. I'm just going to tell my editor, like, who cares? Can I go do something with my family on this national holiday? But we'll see how that goes. So be on the lookout for any and all of that. And as Mark mentioned, next week we will be talking about Jurassic World Rebirth and the slow death of a franchise.
Speaking of slow death, this has been Damn You Hollywood For Robert, I'm sleepy. Be well, be safe, and behave.